Today, we will be factoring trinomials when a is not equal to 1. As we can see in this trinomial, we have 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. In the previous lesson, a was 1, but now we see that a is 2. So when we are factoring trinomials when a is not equal to 1, the first thing we want to do is multiply ax squared times c. In this case, our ax squared term is 2x squared, and our c term is negative 5. So we will multiply 2x squared times negative 5, and the product is negative 10x squared. The next thing that we want to do is we want to replace the middle term of 9x with factors of negative 10x squared that add up to be 9x. So if we list all the factors of negative 10x squared, they will be negative 1 and a positive 10, positive 1 and negative 10. Then we have a negative 5 and a positive 2. And we also have positive 5 and negative 2. And of course, don't forget to go back and add x to all of these factor pairs. So out of these factor pairs, which set will add up to be our middle term of 9x? And of course, that's the negative 1 and the positive 10. So negative 1x and positive 10x are our factor pairs that add up to be the middle term of 9x. Next, what we want to do again is to replace the factors of 9x with, replace the 9x with the factors of negative 10x squared. And so now instead of 9x, we will have negative 1 plus 10x. So now our problem reads 2x squared minus 1x plus 10x minus 5. And again, we've replaced the middle term with the factors of the negative 10x squared that will add up to be the middle term. And again, we get the negative 10x squared from multiplying ax squared times c. Once we get to this point, now we have a problem with 4 terms, and we can use factor by grouping to complete the factoring process. So we're going to complete the factoring process using factoring by grouping. So we have 2x squared minus 1x plus 10x minus 5. The factoring by grouping process says group your first 2 terms, and that's what we have here. And then we group our last 2 terms, and that's what we have with the 10x minus 5. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first group, and I'm going to get a GCF, and that GCF is x. Once I take an x out of here and here, remember I do that by dividing by x. And that will tell me what's left in parentheses, 2x minus 1. Now I go to the second group and I take out a GCF, and its GCF is 5. Now, once I divide by 5, that will tell me what's left in the parentheses here. It's 2x minus 1. So now I look at this group and this group. What do they have in common? The 2x minus 1. So I bring that down and write it in parentheses because it's the GCF. Now, once I take out the 2x minus 1, what's left? The x plus 5, which we see here. So the original problem in a factored form is 2x minus 1 times x plus 5. Now we will do one together. The first thing that we want to do is multiply our ax squared term times our c. So we're going to multiply 3x squared times negative 12. And we get negative 36 x squared. Now, what I want to do next is list out my factor pairs for negative 36x squared. So the factor pairs are negative 9x and a positive 4x. Or we could have a positive 9x and a negative 4x. We also have a negative 12x and a positive 3x. And we have a positive 12x and a negative 3x. We also have negative 6x and positive 6x. And it would be the same as we reversed it, so we don't have to list two sets here. We also have a negative 18x and a positive 2x and a positive 18x and a negative 2x. And in addition to that, we have negative 1x and positive 36x. And we have a positive 1x and a negative 36x. So here are our factor pairs for negative 36x squared. Now, out of all of these factor pairs, which ones will add up to give us that plus 5x? And it happens to be way over here with the very first factor pair that we created, that 9x and that negative 4x. So now what we're going to do is we're going to replace that 5x with 9x minus 4x. And when we add them again, we get to 5x. But we need to bring down the 3x squared. Put a plus sign here because the 9 is positive. And then bring down the negative 12. And the more you do this, the easier it will become to select the correct set of factor pairs. So now we're going to do factor by grouping. So we have the first group and we have the second group. In the first group, the GCF is 3x. And once we factor out a 3x, what we have left is x plus 3. Now in this group, we're going to factor out a 4, which is really negative 4. And what we have left is x plus 3. Now, when I look at this group and this group, what do the two have in common? And of course, it is the x plus 3. And what is left over is the 3x minus 4. Okay. Now, write down 3 questions if you have 3. Give me 2 things that have been cleared up for you, and maybe 1 misconception that you had before.